aviation experts are designing protocols for controlling heterogeneous swarms of passenger and freight drones. By doing so, they are designing urban space. This essay meditates on a path put into motion by European governance that promises drones as a smart, green, and sustainable form of urban mobility. Because these experts fail to reflect an understanding of the urban, their promises don't bear out. EU drone architecture's founding laws, research reports, and interviews reveal its inertia. Focusing on the algorithmic governance of urban airspace further reveals how the creation of basic standards that reorganize the city are created, rendered ordinary, and then disappeared into the city's operational background.
Definition: airspace, a nationally managed system for organizing aviation. Throughout the 20th century, the interaction of technologies and laws have co-produced new forms of airspace. At the turn of the 21st century, airspace operated as a mature planetary scale system.
What forces created the EU's mandate for adopting drones? In 2014, the European Commission established a roadmap for creating a new era of aviation within the European Union. The EC's statement declared its commitment for opening the aviation market for drones. Between 2015 and 2018, high-level conferences in Riga, Warsaw, Helsinki, and Amsterdam published drone declarations. The first conference, convened by the Latvian presidency of the Council of Europe, included esteemed participants such as European commissioners, the heads of aviation regulators, and industry representatives. Each declaration expanded the parameters for integrating drones across Europe. After the 2016 Warsaw Conference, an EU public-private aviation body was given the political mandate and financial tools for guiding the development of drones in the EU. CSAR Joint Undertaking's first report, which was released before the 2017 Helsinki Conference, projected the intensive transformation of Europe's economy by drones. The following year, CSAR published the EU Space Blueprint. To this day, it provides the high-level framework for automating the governance of urban airspace. One CSAR project manager, reflecting on the near future of drones in the EU, states,
"In a few years, you won't be able to record an image of a sunset without it interrupted by passenger or freight drones. The resources are in place, the economic interest is present, the legal regulations and technical standards are getting created, the wide-scale use of drones will arrive."
But the question remains, in what form? September 2024, Montreal, Canada. International Civil Aviation Organization's Symposium on Advanced Air Mobility. The director of drone services for business services company PricewaterhouseCoopers stated,
"And if you want to accelerate it, the second message is to focus on drone delivery as a kind of a driver here, because this is what will generate the most of the traffic in the airspace, to actually push all of the stakeholders, all of the actors that are, playing a role there to act."
In front of an international audience of governmental ministers, the speaker performs his role as business lobbyist by advocating for a future in which the so-called good drone is paid for by mass consumption. This view impacts the EU's drone ecosystem. Expressing his reservation, CSAR project manager continues.
"I've recently changed my mind. While I thought medical uses would
drive Europe's drone market. The business models are becoming more oriented towards convenience-based consumption, such as coffee and pizza delivery.
Other EU drone project managers also expressed concern.
I don't want drones to be a business case. I just want them to facilitate life and create positive impact. There is an Irish company doing flights in Dublin to deliver coffee. These types of companies are really trying to make a business case out of it. Their vision is for having hundreds of simultaneous deliveries. Operators like the Irish company aren't alone. Other groups include SSR joint undertaking, of course, but also aviation engineers, people that are super into it, and drone air traffic service providers too. I'm sorry, but why does it not make sense anymore to just go to a coffee place? It's maybe a small example, but it implies people don't go outside, they don't move, and that they just ask for things.
Their concern reflects how drone companies are designing for social isolation. This demonstrates how solving technical challenges creates political impacts for cities. However, the social perspective alone doesn't reveal how drone protocols are designing urban space.
Definition. Data hazard. The consequences of designing European cities for drones from the distant position of aviation expertise. The associated risks are transcalar, linking districts, cities, regions, and the EU. They emerge from the creation of new standards that rationalize cities for drones.
The question of gestalt in a multi-agent sky remains a problem for aviation experts, redesigning Europe for drones. The design of rules for controlling swarms of drones create urban form, while failing to reflect the expertise, historical lessons, or theoretical perspectives that inform the design of cities. Urban design integrates expertise from architecture, landscape, and planning. As a practice, it works across scales, from the design of small public spaces to regional design. They do so by calibrating the relationship between places of dwelling, movement, restoration, and resourcing. Basic aspirations include environmental stewardship, public realm building, and design for social interaction. In contrast, aviation experts maintain its culture of safety. Because of the risks associated with powered flight, safety is secured through centralizing control. This runs contrary with concepts like civitas, in which residents exert influence on their city. Because of this, it's too important of a question to leave for aviation experts to answer acting in isolation. Protocols are rules. Drone protocols organize urban space at the scale of the vehicle, the neighborhood, the city, and the EU territory. Decisions made at one scale affect the others. These protocols enact forms of urban design. By imposing zoning, designing setbacks, organizing traffic, and through the invention of highway-like traffic structures. Employing urban simulations for testing these concepts, they visualize issues like societal impact, using assumptions about the experience of seeing and hearing drones. Each of these acts of urban design are first expressed as diagrams and then worked out as digital protocols for automating drones. These diagrams confer insight about how aviation experts understand the city. As with past forms of functionalist design, these decisions produce models of society. Zoning urban space is the first example of how drone protocols enact a form of urban design. These protocols do so by defining envelopes of possibility that govern what counts as normal. Zoning reflects the aviation experts' view about the future intensity of drone operations in a place. By classifying space in this way, they propose assigning different degrees of air traffic services for drones to different areas. In site-specific terms, zoning redraws the map of a city by channeling drones into certain areas over others, thus creating a new geography of risk. A question persists about how, if at all, the aviation experts' zoning interacts with terrestrial planning. Creating separation is the second example of how aviation experts enact a form of urban design. The concept of building setbacks provides an analogy for drone separation. Setbacks determine the minimum distance of a building's edges from its property lines. They create relational spaces in front of, beside, and behind buildings. Like setbacks within an urban district, drone separation creates a punctuating rhythm, an ambience, a background condition against which people must live. Separation is the principal goal of airspace. For commercial aviation, air traffic controllers manage separation, whereas drone protocols automate it. Separation minimums establish a set distance between vehicles in flight. Failure to do so risks collision. However, it also creates a limit condition on how densely commercial drones can pack the sky. EU-funded exploratory drone research tests dynamic separation rules based on site-specific conditions. However, as fast-tracked industrial research replaces exploratory projects, contextual approaches are replaced by standardizing ones. Because these protocols apply to the entirety of the EU, they address dramatically different forms of urbanity in a singular way. EU drone protocols create separation in a second way. They propose balancing the intensity of drone activity across the city by measuring collision risk and societal impact. The latter category is too narrowly defined as the experience of the sight or sound of drones as interpreted through simulation. Choropleth diagrams of Madrid or Toulouse visualize simulated risk hotspots. Ignoring pre-existing historical or political boundaries, these simulations are based on the imposition of a 1-kilometer grid. As with past imperial projects, the unsparing structure leaves nothing unclaimed. Here, drone separation, as automated at the vehicle scale and city scale, should be understood as an ongoing process of shrinking the minimum separation distance while maximizing the density of drones in a sector. While in urban design setbacks give up private space, constructing the city as a network of open spaces, drone separation enables private claims on that open space. Except for during the pandemic, year after year, the number of international flights has increased since the end of World War II. One factor enabling this is the role of technology in diminishing the separation distances for commercial aviation, thus enabling a more densely packed sky. The founding mandate for CSAR joint undertaking was to oversee new technologies for more efficiently packing the European sky. This approach carries forward into their oversight of EU drone protocols. Protocols test different models for the command and control of drone swarms, including a centralized, decentralized, and hybrid approach. However, in doing so, researchers aren't rigorous about testing how they organize cities. 2 EU-funded exploratory drone research projects undertaken between 2020 and 2022 proposed designs for the organization of urban airspace, as well as drone highways. Both projects tested subdividing city skies into layers. These proposals assign each layer a direction of movement and by doing so distribute drone traffic across 4 dimensions. Additionally, routes are constrained above streets or, in other instances, threaded through so-called tubes that provide cross-city high-speed corridors. This approach mimics the existing organization of commercial airways. It demonstrates how aviation experts rely upon their experience managing the asocial space of the stratosphere, and equally their unfamiliarity with the social space of cities. One project's final report conveys how researchers approach this by mimicking the spirit of how highways are planned. This statement's honesty conveys the territorial scale its authors intend for their protocols, as well as Airspace's finer scale of design, as seen with the proportioning of highway lanes, meridians, turning radii, and the slopes of on and off ramps. In these technical documents, one can read a vision for the European Union, summarizing its organizational paradigm. Drone protocols are first expressed as diagrams that later become fixed as physical infrastructure managed by digital protocols. By exerting control over the form and experience of urban space, these rules are urban design, albeit reflecting the goals and metrics of aviation experts. While their makers present commercial drones as a light and highly adaptable urban system, these diagrams present a different narrative. Reading them, one can interpret the scale of territorial transformation of rail lands during the early 19th century, or the highways of the 1950s. However, arguably, one difference between the aerian and terrestrial is that these drone protocols transform a far vaster space. Expertise constructs our technical world. However, what constructs that expertise? Is it monolithic, representing the standards and norms of aviation alone, or a constellation of parts? Further, what kind of unlikely alliances could redirect these protocols' inertia before they become fixed as highways in the sky?